Hello, students.
So the
Good
first question
morning.
which I'm going to ask is,
Sir,
when you answer, please inform me your
morning,
name.
sir.
Okay?
Good morning.
Tell me,
So
what is the difference
today
between
we are
research
going
methodology
to
and research method?
discuss this poetics and we are going to play
Yes.
a question answer session.
Who is the
So
first?
let's do that for 5-10 minutes.
Salvo, what? Let's do.
I think you'll be able to answer few questions, very simple questions. Like I'll write down the question. Okay. Okay.
Can you
Tell
switch
me,
on your? Can you switch on your
what is the
video?
function of plot in
Please switch
tragedy?
on your video so that I can see that you are not reading from the book. Okay, tell me.
What is the function of plot in tragedy? What is the function of plot in tragedy? Simple question.
Okay.
One liner. Tell me.
Okay. Now you can tell me what is the example of research method?
Students, tell me what is the function of plot in tragedy? It's one liner question. Okay. One line. I mean, you have to give answer in one line.
In research method example,
Yes. Do I need to ask individually?
okay,
Like Shobik,
okay,
please.
but nice try.
Uh,
Thank you.
what is
Okay,
the
my
function of a
point is really good.
plot in a tragedy?
Yes, you
It's
are the first
The
person,
next one
and you
to
have the
name
so
the
you are getting
function
time to speak,
of
and I
tragedy.
will applaud you for that, and you
what?
will
What?
be full marks.
According to
And
Aristotle,
remember, tell me
of
now, remember, switch
evidence
on your mic
and of thought.
and switch on your video.
Your voice is breaking, I think.
But according to
Switch on your
Aristotle,
video.
the
Yes.
plot
Yes.
means the
Tell
arrangement
me
of things.
at least three,
Okay.
two examples of research method.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yalakti has written something. Plot is an imitation of actions, both internal and external.
Okay. Then
Okay.
is it
Good.
interview method
It's,
or
you're
is
right.
it authentic?
This is a plot is something that
Okay,
indicates
thank
the
you.
imitations of actions,
Thank you. Okay.
especially that actions taken,
So,
I mean,
do you
quite
remember what
similar
is ID?
to your life. It is taken from your life.
So,
Okay.
result for ID is
So
42.
the
Yes.
next question. Mm,
I will ask first the question and then you can reply. Now, the question is,
so one question is why? What is plot? Is arrangement of incidents,
what is case study method?
arrangement of actions.
What is case study
Okay,
method and
arrangement of
research?
incidents. Good, very good. The next question is what are the natural causes of actions? It's a, since plot is the
Yeah, switch on your
arrangement of
video.
actions or imitations of actions. What is the reason of this imitation of
Yes.
action?
What is
What is
Sir, can you repeat the question?
what are or is cause or causes of the causes of uh, what are the rather we can say natural
Very good.
causes of
But can you tell me,
action.
if you are in next
It's
in next
why this
semester, in next year,
I
you are
mean
going to
uh,
have a project,
why this action takes place
and
means
if you are
what makes this action means why do they
if you are given a
perform in that
task to choose a
play,
research project topic
what is behind it, what is the natural
for
cause,
case study method, what topic will you choose?
do you know?
What will be your title of the topic? Title of the project.
I have not discussed, right?
By using case study method.
There are I mean two natural causes for this particular action, particular any kind of action, that is अरे बोलो ना. I
It's
mean,
a case study method. It's a particular
you will
case.
act.
So how will
When will you
you
act? If there is any thought. Okay. दिमाग में thought रहेगा,
So what you
then
can
only you can present.
what, okay,
So
thank you. It's very good.
that therefore किसके दिमाग में thought रहेगा? Character के.
Okay,
So in character's thought, you have to present
what is your
it
idea?
in the I mean in the form of action. So
Okay, Rashmi.
this is why
If you are
you can say
given a chance,
the answer
Rashmi,
is
if you are given a chance, you can
character
switch on your video.
and
You can switch
thought
off your video now.
are the natural causes of the action. Okay.
Yes. If you are given a chance, select a topic
Answer
for
is
your in next semester
character
for your project. There will be 100 marks
and
project in your final
thought.
year. We need 5. BA third year there will be a project.
Character.
Fully 100 marks research project. So if you're given a task, what title will you choose a topic by
Then
using case study method? Title. The title in your front cover of your project. What title will you write?
so okay. Another. It's simple.
Any more? If case study method means a in-depth and a qualitative analysis of a particular case, be a person, be a small group, be a community, be a district, according to PVM, and
Sir,
it mainly focus on a limited number of people.
what are or is the
This
natural cause
particular case,
Hmm?
if you use case study method, if you
Or
are in next semester,
and character and
if you
thought
are
of
yes,
given
yes,
a
yes,
project,
yes.
what title would you write?
I have
You are
given you the
given
answer.
case study. What
okay.
is the
So
idea and what will be the
since you are not answering, so
your
what can I do?
tentative title?
Anagnosis. What do you mean by that? Anagnosis? Anagnosis. What do you mean by that?
Yes, tell me
You know it.
what will be your
I have
next
dictated this
particular
thing.
title name?
Rajat,
How will you
tell
write the
me.
title?
What do you mean by that?
Yes.
Rajat, are you there?
Can it be can it be started by case study?
Hello. So
Instead, what can be done is
Rajat
that
has missed his chance. So क्या लगता है ना
yes,
moment of play or rather
case
work
study method is a
critical
particular
history,
case. You can study the
recognition of true
particular
nature of character.
group of you being the second year.
Okay.
How is the COVID
Okay.
impact on the educational
Good.
atmosphere or something like that
Well,
particular case? Or is
okay.
you can study on
Sushmita,
Sushant Singh
actually Sushma,
particular case. You can study on a
tell
particular
me.
on a particular, let's
Yes, sir.
say,
Yes.
child labor.
What do you mean by anagnosis?
Um, anagnosis is a play
Yeah, you can
or
choose
other work
only one location
of
for a case
character
study. You cannot go
which
and
makes
do here and
critical
there. Okay,
uh,
you have to select particular
discovery.
location. It means particular
Critical
place,
discovery
particular
of
area.
what?
Okay, and as
Uh,
let me ask
Critical
you one
character
question so that you can relieve from the reason. Um, can you tell me
discovery of the critical character.
Discovery of
very
critical
simple
character.
topic is
Discovery
ethnography
of
method
Critical
a
character.
qualitative research
critical character.
or quantitative research?
What do you mean by critical character? Means, can you elaborate a
Is
little bit?
ethnography method a
I
qualitative
do not
research or
get you. Means,
quantitative research?
uh,
So, what is qualitative
what
research?
is critical character? What does it mean by critical character?
What
Uh,
what is qualitative research method? Qualitative. No, no, I'm asking for a question. Vishal, you have completed already. Uh,
Shovik,
no, no, I'm asking for a
you have
question.
written
When I
something like the point where
out
a
of
character
resume,
realizes about another
qualitative.
character. It's known as,
What is
no, not
qualitative
like
research?
this. It's a character. I mean, not only about another character. The main protagonist. Discovery of truth by the protagonist. Adoni has written. Yes, you are right. I mean, it is the point in a play, a novel, in which a principal character recognizes or
Okay,
discovers another
thank you.
character's true identity
So
or
who
the
can,
true nature of
okay, thank you.
their
Thank you for your
circumstances.
view. Now, who
Is
can
it
help
only the
Resmi
another
to,
character's
who
true
can
identity or
elaborate what
No,
is
sir.
hallucination?
in research?
It's
In research methodology,
It can
you
be
have to
anything,
choose.
sir.
Wait, let me say
but
It
yes. Let me say
Abhijit,
in
is it
research
that
you have to
it's a
approach
point
two
of a
characters
play?
are there, qualitative,
It's a point.
quantitative.
Is it mentioning
And in this
some point
qualitative,
in a play?
statistic, experimental,
no, sir.
science, these
Like,
are the method.
mm,
And qualitative,
sir,
suppose
I
that
don't know
is
what I have
ethnography,
understood. I have
observation,
written.
case study,
Okay,
interpretation.
now everything is quite okay.
What is
So this,
qualitative
I mean, this is not a point,
methods of
particular point. It
qualitative
is not
method?
mentioning particular point. It is mentioning
Okay, sir.
that it's that recognition. It's not a particular point of that. I mean,
Okay,
as
it's on the video
you have
version.
written something which
Tell me
means
your
that you
ID
are
also,
mentioning that
please.
some point is considered to be
Residency, what is your ID?
the anagnosis.
Residency, what is your ID?
Okay, you have written the point in a
Okay.
play
There was
in
the
which
in video version.
the principal
Yeah.
character recognizes that or discovers the characters or true characters of the other people. Means, but it's not like that. It is recognition of flaw. Whose flaw? I mean, whose identity? Tragedy is all about the person, a hero. Means the identification of this flaw, the discovery of the flaw of the main character, of the protagonist, not other character. Okay, because a tragedy surrounds a main character, a protagonist, not antagonist. Antagonist associates, I mean, antagonists are associated with the main character. So this play tragedy is mainly focused
If I
on
want to know
particular
that
character,
you
particular hero. That's why it
as
is
far as I remember,
extremely necessary
your
to
house stays in
you know
that Bhagat Singh hostel side,
have
right?
a tragic
Is it in
hero,
Gurkha Basti?
that he should be from uh, he should have this characters
Okay.
like what are
Yes.
the characteristics,
If I want to
characteristic feature of a
in that
tragic hero?
area in your previous
He should be
outside
good, not extremely
where
good.
now
He should
Bhagat
have
Singh
flaw.
hostels are there.
He should have a
The places are
um,
empty. And
he should be, of course, like
suppose
this. These are the few
tomorrow
characteristics
I want to
I
study
discussed
about
in yeah, earlier
how
classes.
the
So
situation of
why
the
I discussed about
coronavirus
tragic hero,
impact
because
in
drama is
those
all about
area. It's
uh,
focusing on
a
this there.
tragic hero.
And
So
I need to
anything
bring
that is
the local
recognition
people nearby to
or
the situation. How is their
anything happened,
prevention? How they
like
are coping?
Hamasha
How
is
the government
his
are helping them.
his
I am
characteristic
interviewing them. I am
in the
asking
play.
them question.
So it is not any
I'm
point.
asking them a
Okay.
question. I'm taking their audio record, video record,
Yes,
whatever they have
discovery of the truth
told me, and I'm
by
understanding their
protagonist.
opinions, understanding their
Anagnosis is a moment
expression,
in a
I'm trying to
play
understand their
or
feeling.
other works where
After
character
recording
makes a
whatever he
critical
said,
decision.
I've written
It's
in my
not
diary,
okay, Alakti.
and in my
I think
diary,
you
whatever I have written, I will
now you
come back in
realize.
my room
Okay.
tomorrow and I will write in my laptop what I have listened
So
from them, what I have observed from
anyway,
them. So, what
uh,
exactly is that?
that
Is it part
anagnosis
of the
is
qualitative
done.
research approach or is
Okay,
it qualitative?
here I would like to ask the peripedia.
Quantitative. Okay, good. Uh, so, who can answer that? Is it qualitative or quantitative? Yeah. Who can have the hospital? Yes, you can switch off your video hospital. So, the things I have said, I will go and interview,
Peripedia.
I will go and ask question and come back and write in my diary. And after writing in my diary, I will write in my laptop. I asked the hospital, was it qualitative or was it quantitative? The hospital said it was quantitative. So who can reply that? Is it
Yes,
qualitative
can you
or
see that?
quantitative?
What do
Please
you mean
put
by
your
peripedia?
mic.
Means in this regard,
You know?
yes, reversal of situation. Yes, good.
Uh, but please say your
Peripedia
name and after the
is
history.
the reversal of situation. You can say, and what do you mean by climax?
Yes, please tell me information to the body. What is your ID? Okay. Okay. Let me answer.
Peripedia, reversal of fortune of protagonist, turning point in life. Yes,
Hmm.
and what do you mean by climax?
Hmm.
Climax of the play.
Okay. Explain further.
Conclusion or outcome of the action. No, it's not like that. Okay, Abhijit, Apollo, tell me now, what do you mean by climax and peripedia? Both are
You you
quite
are you
related
are
to each
talking
other.
about ethnography.
Sir, climax.
Which topic are you talking
Climax,
about? Huh? So
sir,
what are
it's
you
the
talking
most
about?
important and
Which
exciting
method
part
of qualitative research?
of
Ethnography.
any play or any story.
Yes,
Okay, it's
why? Why that
ethnography.
is most important
Okay.
part?
Because from that
So tell
part,
me ethnography,
actually,
what are
the
the
story turns
tools do they use
in a different
Suppose story.
in
direction.
order to use for
Okay,
Turns
interview, in order to
in
use
which
for
direction? Means towards.
interview schedule, asking question? What are the
in
things do
which
they use?
direction?
What are the techniques?
Hmm?
Sir, towards end,
Okay,
like,
towards conclusion.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. That thing is called climax. Yes or no?
When they are asking information and interviewing,
I think
what are
yes.
the
I don't
things
know.
and
Yes, I
techniques
think.
Ari,
you
say
will
it
use
confidently,
to collect
Abhijit.
the information?
Yes,
Say
yes, you are
yes.
right. You
Yeah.
are right. You are right. You are right. Abhijit, you are right. Absolutely right. So this is a point. Okay, it's a point of play where
Okay, thank you.
Play
Anyone who can
reaches
help
its peak.
Anita,
Climax means it
to
reaches
collect
at its
information.
peak.
You need some proof.
Okay,
You need some
Yes, sir.
from there,
so
it
that you can show the father you
this
collect
is very
information.
important. This
What
climax
tools
reaches
the
there
scientists
because
use for
I mean the
giving
play
information?
reaches to the climax
Anyone answer?
where you will just about to have that peripetia.
Interview,
You are
you need to
about
give
to
you
have
something.
that
You can just go and
anagnosis,
interview. I'm interviewing today, but
and
who
if
will remember my
you
interview?
have that anagnosis,
You
if you
don't
realize or
use
if
that
they
sound
realize that
medium.
thing,
There is one medium.
then
What
only
is
it
that
will
medium?
shift
So that
its motion,
evidence.
its
You have done the
path,
interview.
and
What are
you,
the
it will
tools
become
you
a
can
turning
use?
point. Okay,
Could you
that's
tell
why
me,
that
anyone?
yes, Ria, you are right. So that's why
Yes,
this is
Dilwar.
very important. As I have mentioned, many a few of you have
Yes,
mentioned that it's
yes, Dilwar.
where you will in climax you will have the
Yes,
highest
yes.
interesting things happen
Yes, tell me.
because of these things, because you will realize that thing. I mean, even the the character realizes
Yes,
that
tell me the answer
flaw,
now.
and therefore, if when discovery happens, you will automatically change. You will try to. I mean, the character will try to change everything. Try to mend the situation. Try to make it. I mean, try to solve the problem because problem was developing, right? From the introduction of the problem to the development. So development it reaches to culmination point. Means it's reaches to climax. So okay, yeah,
It's very simple.
you
You
need
have just
to
switch on the video.
read.
You need video record.
Okay,
You need audio record.
who was
You
the
have to click pictures.
okay?
You need to have diary. In photography, diary is very important. You are taking writing in your diary whatever you have observed. You have used observation method. So that, it becomes a proof. Video, audio recorder. Your mobile phone, through your mobile phone, you can record it. You can take the picture. You are interviewing. That's what I was asking to Anita. How to, what is the tools to record the information?
So
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You have said the right.
how
Okay.
how does
Now, the next question is
Aristotle differentiate
what is observation method?
poetry
Is
from
it the answer?
prose? Can you tell me
Yes,
how
Karthik.
does Aristotle differentiate poetry from prose?
Karthik, please speak. Switch on. Okay. Suppose you are in next year, in your final year of your bachelor degree. Suppose you are doing your research project and
How
you are
does
working on the topic of the
Aristotle
you are working on the topic of
create peak?
the suppose the status of shopkeepers
Okay.
background,
How does Aristotle
the status of
differentiate epic,
shopkeepers background,
tragedy,
and
and comedy? Can you
where
differentiate between these two? Between these, the
and their effects after pandemic crisis. The successes of subscriber and after effects of the pandemic crisis in Kamalgar Bazaar.
This is our last question.
This was
Okay.
the question.
Can you tell me?
This was the title of your research project.
Barbia,
In your final
can you tell me?
Barbia. And you went
Are you there?
you are as observing people are primary data. So you went to
Hello.
observe, right? You went to the market, you look to the people and observe, and you are writing in your copy, in your diary what you have observed. Whatever you have observed,
Hello?
you also keep the picture.
Yes.
When you do interview, you are also recording the video or you are also recording their audio. But first you have to take permission. You cannot just record the video, take permission, first take permission. So after all this collecting and observing the
Yes.
things,
Sir, your voice cannot hear properly.
after
Means like
observing all these things in Kamalda,
Okay, okay. I will
what will you
disconnect.
do the next?
Don't
What will
worry.
you do
But
next?
first thing is that I have written down the
In
thing.
your final year,
Can you
after
see it?
observing,
okay, sir.
It's for
after
Barbia.
returning home, what will you do?
Can you answer? Barbia, can you hear me?
Okay. You have used already
Sushmita?
observation method, right? So after observing Kamalda Bazaar
Sushmita?
situation, shopkeeper situation of
Yes, sir.
coronavirus,
Yeah.
and you have observed
Please
already, and you are doing
answer
a
these two
research project
questions.
on it,
Any of these two
and you
questions.
have already returned the hostel. What will you do in the hostel? How will you do?
How does Aristotle differentiate poetry from prose?
Uh,
Or
in
Yes, 2020.
in
in epic, all elements of tragedy, not song
Yes.
and spectacles,
okay?
Can
and
you,
in
I think you
all
network
the
on the
six
paper.
elements
You
are
can write it
there.
down in the chat.
Hmm?
Uh,
So next, who will tell me? Which I was asking.
Yes,
like
yes.
plot, diction,
Can
character,
anyone tell me?
song, thought, and
Leslie, you want to
spectacle.
say something?
Okay, good.
Uh,
What else?
I was asking to Prantik. He said that I was asking to Prantik for observation method.
and
He said that
it
I will go and observe. Yes, observation method.
should be
This is
narrative,
qualitative
and
analysis. I will
tragedy
go and
should be
observe
dramatic.
people by using video
Okay,
recording.
very good, very good.
Whenever I require, we will take pictures. We will observe the people.
And
After observing the people,
okay,
the
and
situations
what
of
else?
people, after that field investigation, primary data observation, what
Then
will you do in your room when you return back? What is the next step?
What is the length
What is the next
of these
step
two
after
work?
observing people? What is the next step?
epic should be long, and
You can
tragedy
answer it, please.
must be confined.
Yes, must be concluded in a in a
What is the next
single
step?
revolution of sun.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And what is the difference between tragedy and comedy?
Yes, Bante, you save the correct information in my device.
Hmm?
You just really put,
It's,
uh, pardon, what is the fast
So,
method you use?
can anybody answer that thing? What is the difference between tragedy and comedy?
Yes, that is the most important. What is the yes, most important. Okay,
Please
very good.
answer this question right,
What is your
so that
writing?
I can conclude the class.
What is your writing?
Sushmita, can you do it?
Very good.
I'm
No,
What
not
is the
sir.
use
able to
of
hearing.
observing? What is the use of
Okay.
collecting
So,
information? What is the use of
can you
data
can you do
collection?
it? Anybody
Write it
like
in your
Tamal
notebook.
or
Don't write
Abhijit,
it in the
Yalakti or
Google
anybody
research.
like? Oh, Tuhin is almost
Spoken,
silent.
whoever have
Tuhin,
answered my question, you can left the chat. And you don't need to attend my class
hello,
tomorrow. You
Tuhin.
are free. You can take
Yes, sir.
this.
Okay.
Whoever
Can you
have answered my question, you can leave the
differentiate
meeting
between
and you
comedy
can
and
take this
tragedy?
for tomorrow also. Based on the
Comedy and
product
tragedy.
and try to
Uh,
try to prepare
Tragedy is an
forget all the
imitation of
topics
action, neither is
syllabuses.
serious.
whoever have
Yes.
responded to them, you can
uh,
leave the
and the action
chat
is complete.
and you can take
Okay.
rest for tomorrow.
And comedy is imitation
The next
of
question is,
baser kind
what is
of
survey and what are the examples?
human beings.
What is survey and
Yes.
what are the examples? You
Yes.
answer
You are
that.
right.
And
Okay, sir.
so that's all I know.
Okay. It's good.
You have already answered.
You
And
have
tragedy
said
is superior than comedy
okay. Tragedy is
Yes,
superior than comedy.
what is your ID?
Why?
because it imitates an action which is more serious,
Okay, tell me.
Okay.
and
And
like the
comedy.
subject is serious in.
Okay. That's why.
Yeah.
Very good. But in comedy, there is I mean one thing that uh, under this I mean under this I mean beneath the surface of this comedy there lies something that you that has the
I
capability
think
to change the
these
people.
days is very hot. That
It
no one is
criticizes the
wearing,
peoples,
guys
but
are not wearing
it
full
has the
shirt.
function to change you.
So what you do
So,
is that during your
don't you
exam, if
think
you
this is
online,
another
and
quality that
video are recorded,
for that reason we can call it
because
superior?
as a gentleman, in any official or formal, always wear
Yes or no to
your
him?
shirt
So
in
Yes,
plot
online,
sir.
is
wherever
plot
that
of a
you,
tragedy.
okay, as you are only being second year,
Okay, did
so
you follow
whenever
me?
there is official meeting or
Sorry,
any
I
official
said
couldn't
that.
program,
understand.
always wear
Okay,
some shirt.
I said that a comedy
And always,
beneath the
in
surface of
terms of your
comedy
Gmail,
there is
Gmail
intention,
account,
always intention of the
in your Gmail
dramatist
account,
to
always your Gmail
mend the
profile
character,
picture
to change
have
the
to be
audience, to you
have
know
to be
always
uh,
criticizes, and
have to
behind the
be formal.
criticism is there is the
Do not put
intention to
do not
change
put
it,
any
change the
what to
human
say
being.
like
So it is
a
having
joke
a
or
quality to change you.
Gmail account is not
So
your
Yes.
WhatsApp DP or your Facebook
because
DP.
it has that
Gmail account
quality,
is your
can we
official.
call this
Just like
comedy as
when you go to the
superior than
office, you
tragedy?
cannot
Because
put your
tragedy,
leg when you get
you
a
know,
job, when you
does
go to
not
your
say
office,
like
you cannot
uh,
speak
yeah,
in your
does
office
not
room. You
criticize the
cannot just
common people. It's
what to say, do whatever you
the
like in your office.
hero
You have to
is
respect.
although
So your
he
Gmail
is
account
from
is
the
very
common mass,
important.
but he belongs to
Either
little
remove
higher
your
than
profile
common
picture in
mass.
Gmail account, or either
So
put a decent Gmail
in
account,
comedy with
your name
we
and
can change that
your ID name and your
common
profile
mass.
picture.
I mean
Yes, sir.
characteristics
I
of the
can see
common mass.
somebody is
So do we
putting
consider because
his
of this can we
picture.
consider that
The same
comedy is
picture of
better?
WhatsApp might be, but Gmail account in future, Gmail account is official.
No, sir, I think they
You
can be
cannot put
considered
your
the
house
same
by
because
Java in your
comedy
office
can
in the same
change
title.
human
So
behavior
Gmail
by
is official.
criticizing
So do not put your
Yes.
baser
any
instinct or
jokes or
actions from
something
people.
in picture. Don't be funny.
So
Okay, Oruk, what
in
you have
your
said is
view,
very
it
good.
should
Very good.
be like treated equally, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good, very good.
So the next question
So
is, what are the two
who
types
else
of
like
data collection?
Arnoni has written something.
What are
Everything
the
is
two
okay,
types of data
Arnoni,
collection?
but in the last
What is your
line,
idea?
the, on the other hand, comedy lacks humor.
Yes. What are the two types of
Hmm?
data collection?
Is it so? Comedy lacks humor.
What is primary data?
It is not serious. It's okay. It does not make complete sense. Really,
Okay, switch on your video.
Arnoni? Where
Yes,
is she?
sir.
She left. Okay.
Yes, what is primary
Is it?
data?
Is it so? Comedy lacks humor. It
I
does
wa-
not make complete sense.
I
Okay, continue.
kind of wanted to say like that because comedy we don't take it so seriously like a tragedy,
Okay.
although it gives good moral lessons at the end.
Yes.
But um, yeah, that's it.
It's very humorous,
Oh,
right? Through the humor, use of humor, uh, uh, yeah, comedy criticizes people. Through the these types of the elements comedy uses, right?
Sir, that means comedy is full of humor,
Yeah, yes.
even
It's
tragedy
full of-
also.
Okay, very good.
yes, yes. So the use of language, you know, the most difficult thing uh, to understand. Okay, one question. Which one is easier to understand?
The next
Comedy or
question
tragedy?
is for the
Tragedy.
Tragedy is easier to understand.
if you can tell me
Why?
what is the example of
Because we can
primary
know
you
like
can give
what
the
are the
example of primary
problems going on, and like everything is serious.
Yes,
But
switch
in
on your video.
comedy, it is
Switch on your
difficult
video.
because they are kind of indirect, and we laugh means
Switch on the
by
video.
listening to the story, but
And
we
Shivaji is
understand
also
it
changed
later.
picture.
Okay,
Just I said,
good,
your Gmail
very good.
account is not
Can you add?
profile
Can
picture or
anybody
Gmail account
else
is not
attempt this question? Comedy and
and your
why?
Gmail account has
And do you,
Yes,
do you
sir.
think
it is
do you
linked
think
with
that comedy is
it will
difficult to
basically
understand than tragedy?
Yes, sir. I think
then
comedy is
it will
easier to
be
understand and tragedy is difficult.
official documents will be linked with
Okay,
Not
your Gmail
difficult
account. You would use it as
because comedy is
part of a
generally closer,
office
like it is
emails.
generally like closer to our everyday life, like
First,
and
what are the
like
examples
it
of primary
represents everyday life like more we can relate to comedy. Whereas tragedy, even though tragedy like teaches us the more important lessons of life, but I think it depends on the perspective of different people. I think for me, it's comedy is very easy to understand, whereas tragedy it is difficult.
okay, okay. What about Abhijit?
like really what do you find?
Good, Tamal. Yes, you have opinion,
Yes, good.
and it's absolutely comedy is about happiness and tragedy is about sadness and loss. Okay, okay, Abhijit.
Yes,
Quickly,
sir.
quickly. Which one? Tragedy or comedy? Which one is easier to understand, or which one is difficult?
So in my perspective, tragedy is easier to understand because in comedy they use more humor, and sometimes it's very difficult to understand the humor, and they use very sarcastic words and very sarcastic language also. And in my perspective, I think comedy is very difficult to understand.
Yes, very good answer.
Now
So
the next
yes,
question
yeah,
is
of course. I
what
mean,
is
in tragedy, uh, in my
something
perspectives also, in my perspective also,
wherever
it's
I answer
a
you can
tragedy
make
which
the
is
chart
easier to
and
understand
you can
because
take
it deals
online
with
video
one serious
and you can take that for tomorrow.
storyline and one serious thought, and that thought is quite
Okay, Manju,
universal in nature.
continue speak.
Okay, so it's quite archetypal, quite basic
Manju, so tell me the
human quality. It talks about some basic human
what
quality
is switch on
that
the
can be
video first.
found all over the globe. But in case of comedy,
What is
it's
happening
very
and what are the
quite
types?
difficult to understand uh, because comedy is more related to the use of language. The role of language is very important. Rather, use of a gesture is also there to understand because and as you know the function of language in function of language you will have cultural impact. So
Yes, very good.
the western comedy you cannot understand properly because they have different kind of humor, sense of humor, different kinds of presentation of humor. That's
Okay.
why
Very
I mean
good.
it is
Let's go
quite
ahead and
difficult to understand by us. uh, for example, I mean I used to give one example, right?
now you can
Like
tell me
uh, owl,
what is probability
OWL,
centric and non-probability centric.
that is
Manju, tell me
in Hindi
what is probability centric and
or
non-probability
Urdu we
centric.
can say ullu, or in Bengali it's say pacha.
Yes,
So
Govinda, switch on your video.
if they use this symbol, means if anybody say this thing in comic way, I mean in a English play, in an English play, like you are like an owl. So if say if for example if anybody says like this in the comedy, oh my goodness, you are like an owl, you are behaving like an owl, means is he uh, looking like in Bengali you will take like প্যাঁচার মতো দেখতে, means it's like not so good looking.
are you
It's
clear
ugly
with
looking
your
person.
answer or are you are
So
confused with yourself?
in Urdu, it says that ullu means
You are
it
clear
is
with your answer.
like foolish. You are
Give more
looking like a fool.
examples? What
You are
is
looking
about
like
this?
a foolish kind of person.
What is
So
the main
in
difference
Western
between
sense, I mean,
origin
in
and the Bible?
English people will say that you will
Govinda, please
very
continue.
knowledgeable. You are full of wisdom. So there is total contrastive things are there in single imagery. So if particular sentence creates this types of confusion, therefore it's quite difficult to understand exact meaning of the particular sentence, a particular word. And we need to understand, if we need to understand the whole thing, we need to understand the culturals as well, their cultural meaning as well associated with this. And because of that, since it is to adapt all these things, you should know the thing, I mean, in a better way. That therefore, many occasions you will not be able to understand to get the humor of the play or humor of the story. In English movie as well, you will find this kind of problem as well.
Antaric, please switch
Like
on your mic.
they will laugh,
Switch on your video.
but you cannot understand it. I mean, you cannot laugh with them because
On your video.
you
What
do
is
not get
hypothesis?
that
Antaric.
humor, get that sarcasm. Okay, that's why you could not laugh at that time. So that is why, in my personal view, it's quite difficult to. I mean, tragedy is easier to understand. Okay, in between two. So anyway,
What is hypothesis?
this much is for the day. We'll meet you tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last, so we'll try to uh, discuss few more questions like this,
I
or
will give you
then
another
we'll
chance.
conclude that
You tell me
whole
clearly.
thing. Okay, we'll finish.
What is research method?
Sir,
Yes,
sir, in exam you will ask these types of questions.
Speak more.
which in exam.
Like, yes, sir.
In exam, yes, I will ask
Okay.
The questions you are asking now.
Engineer,
uh,
switch on your mic
The
and video.
questions are a bit complicated, sir.
yes, I this last question I asked because of this,
Yes.
for query.
Tell
Like
me,
here
tell
somebody
me
has written
three
something that,
example, three
okay,
examples
Yeah.
of
it's
research method.
lack humor,
What are the
it's
three
lack, I
types
mean,
of any
comedy lacks humor. So from
three
that
examples
point,
Yes.
this question come to my
research
mind.
as you know that in research
Hey,
method
Yeah.
by the
so
So
otherwise
please,
theory
this question will not be
quantitative
asked.
to
I will
qualitative.
not ask
So
this
you can
question
choose any three
definitely.
examples from
It's
sir,
qualitative
yes, sir.
and
Like some of the questions that you asked today are like
yes,
they
like
are a
very
bit
very
difficult.
like
No, those are easy.
yeah, this type of question will be there. Okay,
okay.
Yes,
easy
sir.
question will be there. Which one is difficult
Nirmasi,
question?
which one your mic?
Like you asked
Nirmasi,
about like difference
Nirmasi,
between poetry and prose,
video,
Yes.
which one your
Okay.
video?
And
and the
poetry and
like yes,
and
What
like
is
imitation of accent.
research methodology?
like
Like you asked about what are the natural, two natural, like what are the natural causes of action?
yes,
Answer was thought and character. I even like I didn't understood like why is a character a natural cause. I didn't even understood that, sir.
yes. Yeah. Okay. Um, actually, the yes, it is a little bit difficult question.
To
Yes,
be
sir.
prepared,
So
I will give
actually,
you
I had
another
come
chance.
across this
I will give
question.
you
That's
another
why I
chance.
asked it.
You have to
So
prepare.
Okay, sir.
anyway,
Okay.
What is case study method?
you see, it's a natural because uh,
Hmm.
this thought. Okay, thought is associated, extremely associated with these characters. Means who is the character? What is the
Switch
character?
class, switch
I
on
mean,
your video
this
and mic.
person will, you know, the character himself will
Nirmasi, I will ask you very
develop
question.
that
Switch
thought,
class,
and
switch on your
through
mic.
this
Okay.
through this thought, I mean,
Switch
this
class.
thought will be presented through action. right?
Yes.
Using language and other things, other embellishments. So
Yes.
that's why the natural source where originated, where that
Okay.
thought is originated is character himself. Then this thought, I mean, is propagated through some other activities, other performances, this action, and therefore this that's why it can be called says that it can be this action is the natural cause of I mean action is developed from the natural developed from the character and thought. That's why so it's
Okay.
yes you have to think about it. That's why it's quite I mean little difficult for you. Otherwise, if you think about it, if the concept is clear, then you can easily answer this. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So anyway, okay, we have engaged already what for 50 minutes. So it's okay. Tata. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, sir.
Bye,
Bye.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
All the best. Chalo.
One question.
Yes.
So if possible, tomorrow, if you discuss all the types of questions we need to prepare for exam, it will be better for us because tomorrow is the last class.
Okay. Okay. I'll do that.
Okay.
हम्म, चलो ठीक है.
If we discuss those questions, then it will be better for us to prepare.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I'll do that. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, Tata.